This week on Raceweek, dreams do come true. Jamie the Jet Tomaino becomes the champion of the NASCAR Modified Tour. We'll meet Jamie the Jet Tomaino and Mike Stefanik one-on-one at the 1990 Awards Banquet. And finally, we'll give you the 1991 proposed schedule for the Modified Tour season.
Massachusetts, well known for the Basketball Hall of Fame. But there's another Hall of Fame that's going to be shown on this edition of Race Week. It's a tribute to the champion and the men of the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour. It'll be taking place right here in Springfield, Massachusetts at the Sheraton at Monarch Place as we pay tribute for the 1990 NASCAR Winston Modified Tour Awards Banquet. Hello, I'm Ben Dodge, and I welcome you to yet another edition of Race Week. Well, in the building that's located behind me, things are getting all geared up. There's over $100,000 in prize money and point money to be distributed to the champion. Jamie the Jet Tomaino is waiting for that ring to be put on his hand that indicates he is the champion of the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour. Let's go take a look inside at all the glitz and the glamour that surrounds the champion and the men of the NASCAR Modified Tour.
For the past 2 weeks, we've been recapping the season on the Modified Tour, but now it's time to pay tribute to the men in the top 5. In the 5th position on the Modified Tour was Tony Hirschman. At the start of the 1990 season, it looked like Hirschman would be a shoo-in, as car number 1 was looking to be number 1 on the NASCAR Modified Tour. Right from the start at the Icebreaker event, the first New England appearance of the Tour, it was Tony Hirschman setting in the winner's circle once again. But then, as the excitement was building in Richmond for the biggest payday of them all, Hirschman would slam the wall hard while contending for his 2nd win of the season. A sternum injury would force him out of the competition, at least for the next 2 events. The greatest race in the history of spring saw Tony Hirschman make an attempt to start the event, but a relief driver had to run the race. Hirschman's hopes of a title shot might have been over. At Martinsville, the story was pretty much the same. But once the competition continued at the Holland Speedway, it was Hirschman back in the winner's circle. And at Saar Speedway, it was win number 3 for Tony Hirschman. It was now Tony Hirschman who was back in the limelight as he would secure the biggest payday per lap in the shortest distance $5,000 Busch Clash from the Thompson Speedway. But just as things were looking up, tragedy would mar the Hirschman team once again at Pocono, even though Hirschman would walk away. But at the Martinsville Speedway, for the final event of the season, it was Tony Hirschman in the winner's circle to win event number 4. A 5th place finish for Tony Hirschman and car owner Tony Vecchio. The 4th place finisher on the Modified Tour points was Donald Satchworley, the pride of Rocky Mount, Virginia, driving for Bob Garbarino and the Mystic River Marina Missile. The team started out very, very strong at the start of the 1990 season, but their strongest battles occurred with former champion Mike McLaughlin. At a qualifying event at the Thompson International Speedway, it was this duel that battled lap after lap, only to find McLaughlin the star of that show. And at the Winston 300, it looked like Satchworley was finally in for a big payday, when in the closing laps, once again, Magic Shoes Mike McLaughlin would steal it all away. But the pride of the South ran stronger and better at all of the Modified Tour events in 1990. Some say he'll be a real contender for 1991. 4th place finisher on the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour, Donald Satchworley, and car owner Bob Garbarino.
I believe that I got one of the best, if not the best, race car on the tour. We've had our problems learning each other, but we're getting there. Bob's been around a long time. I've been around a pretty good while, but we're a new team. We got to get everything working together, and I think we're gaining on it a little bit. So.
3rd place finisher on the NASCAR Modified Tour was a driver that was featured just a few weeks back on Raceweek, Rick Fuller. Rick Fuller drove the independently owned and family racing operation car of Kurt Chase. And right from the start of the 1990 season, it was Fuller who was already a contender. Car number 77 ran up front of the competition in the icebreaker event, and it almost appeared as if he was a shoe-in until one of the shoes went flat and a tire went down on car 77. And at Richmond International Speedway, there's no doubt about it, the star of this show, with a three-wide move that gave him position number 1 as he went on to the victory with Ricky Fuller. The biggest payday in the history of the NASCAR Modified Tour. But as the summer heated up, so did the excitement as Fuller got bumped out of the number 1 spot in the point standings and had his share of problems too. Event after event, he was there as a factor. But then in the final event at the Stafford Motor Speedway, it looked like he had it all dialed in and back together. When the pit crew called him back into the pits, a costly move that cost him the event and perhaps much more. At the Martinsville Speedway, he was just as strong as car number 77 ran at the front of the class. Then once again, as luck was with him, well, luck decided the team as Rick Fuller was out of the competition once again. But Fuller showed all the right ingredients of being a contender. The third place finisher from Auburn, Massachusetts, Ricky Fuller, and car owner Kurt Chase.
I'd like to congratulate Jamie and Danny. We fought them all year. We were close a couple of times, not quite close enough.
The number 2 man on the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour was previously the number 1 man, looking for a repeat title. From West Greenwich, Rhode Island, it was Mighty Mike Stefanik. But right from the start of the 1990 season, Stefanik, as the defending champion, got bounced around just a bit, and it cost him dearly in the opening event for the Martinsville Speedway. At the Thompson International Speedway, he started right up front, and this was home turf, and he looked like a shoe-in for a victory when a mechanical problem in the engine forced him out of the competition. Then it was on to Richmond International Speedway, where he ran at the front of the class once again. But again, a mechanical problem forced him out early. It wasn't until the 4th event of the season that Mike Stefanik ran strong up front to secure his first victory of the 1990 season. Then it was on to the Race of Champions from the Pocono International Speedway. His win there was just one of 5 wins, the most on the Modified Tour. Consistency and determination has paid off. A perfect track record for the champion of the NASCAR Modified Tour, Jamie the Jet Tomaino from Howell, New Jersey. He competed in every Modified Tour event since 1985. And at the start of this season, now teamed up with Danny Ust, they were a contender right from the word go. At event number 1 at the Martinsville Speedway, it was the Reg that gave Tomaino a run for the money, till Reggie Rogelio took over the number 1 spot. At the back of the Thompson International Speedway, from a 3rd place finish at Martinsville, it was Jamie Tomaino who finished 2nd to Tony Hirschman. Then from the high banks of Monadnock Motor Raceway, like the bull rings that Jamie Tomaino started his career, the first Modified Tour victory ever for Tomaino would come at Monadnock Motor Raceway. Tomaino was already showing the makings of a champion, now moving into position number 1. For the Reg, he was having his share of problems looking at Tomaino, setting in that number 1 spot. From the Pocono International Raceway, it was the Jet and Mike Stefanik who really gave him a show for a while. Jamie Tomaino looked like he was going to take down the Race of Champions, till Mike Stefanik muscled up enough steam as he was now moving in on the point parade. Then with less than 2 races to go on the Modified Tour, Tomaino would be involved in a mix-up at the Thompson Speedway. It would cost him dearly as Mike Stefanik would finish 2nd to Jeff Fuller. But for the final event of the season at the Martinsville Speedway, Jamie Tomaino only had to finish 30th or better. So once the race began, it was Tomaino who became the champion.
The 1990 NASCAR Winston Modified Tour champion is the only driver who has been to every race held since the tour was founded in 1985. In 1990, his team put together a championship season that saw him running at the finish of each race, each of the 23 races held. In addition, he had 18 finishes in the top 10, including a victory at the Monadnock Speedway. He became the first NASCAR champion from New Jersey in 32 years. His championship point fund awards of $34,933 increased his total winnings for 1990 to $88,983. Please welcome the 1990 champion for the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour from Howell, New Jersey, Jamie Tomaino. And finally, Ed Cox of NASCAR with the Winston Modified Tour Championship Diamond Ring. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your 1990 Winston Modified Tour champion, Jamie Tomaino.
Okay, I hope I'm ready for this. I'm nervous. And don't forget, I'm the fastest talking Yankee, so if I go too fast, I'm not going to repeat it. I'd like to thank NASCAR for its main support on the Modified Tour during the season. And the biggest thing I got to thank them for is letting us go to the bigger tracks, such as Richmond and New Hampshire Speedway, where we can really put on a real good show. And for being able to go to Nazareth this year and finally having a show in my hometown in New Jersey, Flemington Speedway. My family, my mom and dad, when I first started this racing venture when I was 18 years old, they both thought I was completely crazy. I built a race car without my father even knowing it. I didn't even have no tires to put on the race car, and I was ready to race. My mom came through, gave me some money without my dad not even knowing it. And one thing I always strived was that, being from New Jersey, that I wanted to be a real good race car driver from Wall Stadium. And not many guys were able to do that. And because my mom and my dad and my whole family was behind me all these years, I finally got something that I've been trying to do for so long. And win this championship.
Well, next we're going to be taking a commercial break, and when we come back, Brian Danko will talk one-on-one with the champion of the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour, Jamie the Jet Tomaino. The title on the NASCAR Modified Tour. Well, Brian Danko will talk with Jamie Tomaino about his plans for 1991 in search of a second title and a recap of 1990 on the Modified Tour.
Well, for the longest time, we've been trying to get Jamie Tomaino to talk about his 1990 championship season, but Jamie wouldn't talk about it at Martinsville. But finally, Jamie, it's official. Congratulations on the Modified Tour Championship.
Thanks, Brian.
Jamie, you go back all the way to the beginning of the year. Your downfall has been the early races. You never seem to finish up in the front. But this year, you had several strong finishes, and from there on, it was downhill for you, really.
Well, yeah, right off the bat at Martinsville, when we got done qualifying for the first race of the year, you guys came over to me and you asked a question about who do you think was going to win the championship. Well, I was so thrilled that I qualified so good right off the bat that I told you guys that if this car runs like it did today, that for the whole year, that I'll be hard to beat. And sure enough, here I'm sitting today.
Jamie, you told me before the second Riverside Tour show, whoever does well in the next three races at New Hampshire, at Thompson, and Pocono, most likely will be the champion. And you looked at to be a prophet because you finished well in all of the races there.
Yes, we did, yeah. And I kept on telling my car owner, Danny Yes, that somehow or another we needed to get a new motor because of these three big races coming up. We were lucky enough to pick up Nestle Foods right at the end, and they gave us a little bit of money. We were able to purchase this new motor. And them three races, you need power. And I knew Mike Stefanik was going to be, you know, a top contender in them three races. And I was able to stay dog him in them three races quite a bit there. He had unfortunate luck in the Thompson 300, and I still finished that race, and that really boosted us for the point lead.
Going down into the final couple races, Mike Stefanik, as you said, was right on your tail. But going into Martinsville, you had a little bit of a cushion where you had to finish 30th or better. Nice position to be in.
Well, it was definitely a way better position than Mike had the year before that. I don't know if I could have made it through that, because as it was, with that point lead I had, I still couldn't sleep at night. But, yep, everything went well. The car ran good like it did all year at Martinsville. We ended up finishing 5th, and when race was over, I was probably the happiest person on there.
Going into the two races at Richmond and New Hampshire, there was a lot of concern about the modifieds on the big tracks, but yet they proved that they were very competitive out there.
Oh, just great. I mean, if we can get more bigger tracks to run on like that, I think you can see just as good a shows, if not better, all the time. New Hampshire track was so good because we could draft, and we actually could be like superstars over in a couple minutes. You know, being able to draft Mike Stefanik and Mike McLaughlin during that race was a big thrill in my life, because I always saw it on TV, but was never able to drive a car that could do that. But out there we could. In Richmond, nice big track. We put on real good shows there. The competition was real good, and I can't wait to go to Nazareth now. That's another big track as far as I know. We're going to be going to that in 1991, and races are real good there.
Well, Jamie, you're from New Jersey. First time a modified champion has come from New Jersey since 1958, I believe. Mm-hmm. But you're really out there. I mean, there's no races in New Jersey until the 1991 season, so really you do a lot of traveling just to get to the Modified Tour shows.
Oh, that's a circus just on its own, you know, half the time. Riverhead's a 2-hour adventure for us to get out there, but we still got to leave 10 o'clock in the morning to make it there by 4 o'clock because of the traffic. And then every time we come to the New England area, we got to go over the George Washington Bridge. First, you got to get a credit card out to pay the toll. Then with the bridge swaying and the bumps, and it's just really, it's an adventure, you know. And some of these guys are going to have to go through that just to get to New Jersey next year, at least for one race. So put them through a little bit of torture.
Jamie, looking ahead to the 1991 season, a year ago you were a major threat to win races and be in the top 5, but now you're the champion. Now you're the man that everybody's shooting for. How do you prepare for that?
Well, my goal this year is to defend my championship, but you're going to see a little different style in Jamie Tomaino this coming year. I won my championship, which everybody likes to do. But everybody's saying I don't win a lot of races, and I'm saying that to myself. I don't win a lot of races. Well, I want to win a lot of races starting next year. We're going to take some chances that we haven't took before. Depending on the rules with the pitting and so forth and so on, if I'm running second or third, I don't think I got a chance to win that race just by staying out there. You'll see me pit if the rules permit. And we're going to be taking the chances to win the races. And we won enough races, you know, the championship to take care of itself, you know, if we're lucky enough to be in the same position as we were this year.
1990 in particular was a very good year for the modifieds. There was a lot of close side-by-side racing. Some of the drivers that you really enjoy running wheel-to-wheel with, where you know you can rub a little bit and nothing's going to happen.
Oh, there's definitely. I mean, the Modified Tour guys are a great bunch of guys to race with, you know. I mean, any given day, there's one guy that might have a bad day or a frustrating day, and he might move up on you a little bit here, a little bit there. But on the average, you couldn't want to race with a better bunch of guys, you know, and especially the Richmond track and New Hampshire track proved it. There was no bad crashes. There was just real good racing all the time, and super bunch of guys to race with.
Jimmy, a lot of people have talked about going to the Busch Grand National division. Mike McLaughlin did it, Mike Stefanik has a chassis, and Tony Hirschman. What about Jamie Tomaino for 1991?
Well, we're going to try to do about the same thing as they guys are, but before we even get into that, though, I think that the worst thing that's happening right now is that the modified guys ain't getting enough recognition in the modified division. I'd like to see some of the Busch guys take the modified cars, and let's see what they can do in them. That's what they're trying to make us do with the Busch cars. And I really don't think it's fair, because there's a lot of talent in this modified division, and we should be able to step right up if given a chance to prove ourselves in a Winston Cup car, because I'm sure there's plenty of guys in this division that can handle the situation. But we're being forced to actually buy another car and show them that we can do it in the Busch Grand National cars, which the guys will be able to do it, no sweat, as far as I'm concerned. But the hard part is trying to find the right guys to work on that particular car, because it's different to us. Trying to get the big sponsors to be able to have as good as cars as the guys with the Busch North and Busch South do have, you know. So we're going to try to put something together, because I got to get my feet wet sooner or later. But I want to be able to do it 100%, same way I'm sure Mike Stefanik does, Tony Hirschman does, and Mike McLaughlin already proved that he's already can do it, and he will go farther even yet. So that's a goal I'm sure everybody has in the modified division right now, until we get looked at a little harder, you know, by NASCAR.
Jamie, at the start of the season, we asked all the drivers who they thought would win the 1990 championship, yet you were the only one who went out and picked yourself to win it. As you look ahead to the 1991 season, what's it look like?
Well, I think maybe some other guys might pick me maybe to defend this championship, you know, and myself, I will also. I know there's going to be a lot of guys gunning to get this championship and stuff, you know, but here as we sit right now, it's still only January. I got 2 brand new race cars that are not completely together. When I was asked that question, I was on a big high. I time trialed 6th. The car was running good and everything else. But we're going to give it everything we got again to win this championship, and I can't see no reason why we shouldn't be able to do it. We were the big dark horse last year, and we won it. This year, I'm going to be one of the favorites. So being one of the favorites, that gives me a lot of momentum right off the bat, and we're going to be shooting for it again.
Well, Jamie, you were a little bit shy in Martinsville in October. You didn't want to talk about the championship because you hadn't clinched it yet, but I'm glad we had a chance to congratulate you on the 1990 championship.
Thanks, Brian.
Well, we're going to take a commercial break right now, but when we come back, we're going to talk with the 1989 Winston Modified champ and 1990 runner-up Mike Stefanik. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Race Week. We're here at the Sheraton Monarch in downtown Springfield, Massachusetts for the 1990 Winston Modified Tour Banquet. And with me is the 1989 champion Mike Stefanik. Mike, you look a little bit different here, missing something.
Well, I shaved off the mustache, Brian. I had it 9 years and walked out of the bathroom one night and just took it off, and Julie panicked.
And that was it.
That was it, yeah.
Mike, as you look back on the 1990 season, it wasn't really too bad. You picked up 5 wins, but you came in second in the points.
Yeah, we looked at it, Brian, as kind of like a salvage mission. We started out so bad, we weren't even in the top 20 in points as of, like, May 1st, so everyone just totally wrote us right off the schedule, and we just fought our way back and just treated it like a salvage mission, just did the best we could, and we battled back to a second, and that's where we ended up.
Mike, after the first few races, you found yourself probably about 30th in points. You had a few motor problems, and you had several bad finishes, like at Riverhead with a cut tire with 5 to go. How did that affect you?
Well, to win a championship, you got to have the luck with you. You can't have, with a short schedule like we have, you can't afford to drop out of any races, and that's what it takes to win a championship, is consistency. You know, we were real happy we had like 11 top 2s, you know, but them other 12, 13 races were terrible, you know. It just, you know, some 30 place finishes and 28th place finishes. That just doesn't cut it, but I'm not blaming anybody. We tried just as hard. Things just didn't work out for us in the early going. We battled back. We had some motor problems. I'm not blaming anybody. I mean, Ron, I still feel by far makes the best horsepower. I feel we have, you know, excellent equipment. It just wasn't meant to be.
To be going toward the Busch Grand National cars. A lot of modified drivers are buying chassis, Tony Hirschman, Mike McLaughlin, and also yourself. What's the story with it?
Well, we have purchased a Mike Laughlin chassis, and Ron Hutter will be doing us a V6 motor. And we plan on running a very limited schedule. I'd like to break into the Busch. It seems like the next step to the Cup. I mean, now's the time. If I'm going to do it, I'm at the age where, hey, take a chance. You know, Columbus took a chance. He discovered America. So, hey, I'm going to take a chance. We're going to step into it rather gingerly. I'd like to go about it in a business-like manner, realistically, go to tracks I've been to, raced at, Loudon, Richmond, maybe a Stafford-Thompson show, and then venture out and maybe try a Dover or Charlotte. What I'd really love to do, and I've looked at the schedule, and I'd love to do that Watkins Glen show. For some reason, I don't know, it's just a total different aspect of racing, turning right. Really intrigues me. I'd love to try it. I might try to get to that show if the schedules permit. I haven't seen both schedules back to back yet to see if the dates are open, but to me, that'd be wild.
Mike, although you're talking about running a limited Busch schedule, you're still planning on running the entire 22 race schedule on the Modified Tour?
Most definitely, Brian. Our goal, top priority in the garage, will be the Modified. That's the premier car for this year. The Busch is secondary. It won't be treated secondary at the racetrack, but it will be treated secondary in the garage. The Modifieds are our top priority, primary cars. With a major sponsor, we want to make sure we fulfill our commitment 100%, and most definitely are after that championship. Next year, who knows, maybe the tides will be reversed, and Busch schedule will be updated to maybe 20-some-odd races, and the Modified would take a second seat. But this year, right now, I go year by year and keep all my ducks in a row. Right now, the Modified is the head duck, and that's how the cars are treated.
Well, Mike, earlier we asked Jamie about who he thought would be the 1991 champion. Your predictions?
Yeah, I took myself, and he took himself. He was right. We were wrong. I think it'd be tougher for him to repeat. Not that, you know, he learned more. The crew is probably more versed on the modified scene. But it's just tough to repeat. Like I said, you got to have that luck, and you got to create a lot of your luck, too, though. You do create a lot of your own luck. But I'll stick with ourselves. Our team is strong. We'll be stronger yet next year. We have the experience. We have a good motor program. We have a good chassis program. I'll just stick with us. I don't know. The paper said 1-1 favorite, so maybe they're right. We'll see.
Mike Stefanik had all the right ingredients before he teamed up with ADAP in the Auto Palace. He'll be even tougher to beat in 1991. Well, now it's time to take a look at the tentative proposed schedule for 1991. The schedule is loaded with events that pay $100,000 at a lot of super speedways as we take a look at the Modified Tour for 1991.
The 1991 season begins with tradition for the Martinsville Speedway on March 10th. Then it moves on from March 24th to the Richmond International Raceway in Richmond, Virginia. The Super Speedway of the North will host the Modified Tour, New Hampshire International Speedway, on April 14th. Then it's at the Stafford Motor Speedway for the Spring Sizzler on April 21st. Back to Martinsville Speedway on April 27th, then Pennsylvania International Raceway in Nazareth, Pennsylvania will host the Modified Tour for the first time on May 11th. The Stafford Motor Speedway will be back with round number 2 for May 24th. Thompson International Speedway will host a Modified Tour event on June 2nd. Flemington Speedway from Flemington, New Jersey will open up on June 15th for the Modified Tour Special. The Oxford Plains Speedway in Oxford Plains, Maine will feature the Modified Tour on June 23rd. Riverhead Raceway will feature a midweek event on June 26th. Jennerstown Speedway in Jennerstown, Pennsylvania on July 6th. Then it's back at the Stafford Motor Speedway for event number 3 on July 19th. The Riverside Park Speedway will feature a midweek Modified Tour event on July 24th. Riverhead Raceway features event number 2, also a midweek event, on July 31st. Then it's back to Richmond International Raceway for August 4th. The Thompson International Speedway on August 11th. Then back to New Hampshire International Speedway in Loudon, New Hampshire on August 25th. The Winston 300 will be hosted on September 8th from the Thompson International Speedway. Then it's the Race of Champions on September 15th. Back to the Stafford Motor Speedway for the fall final on September 29th, and the Martinsville Speedway will host the final point event from the Martinsville Speedway in Martinsville, Virginia on October 27th.
Well, as you can see, the tentative proposed schedule for 1991 is an impressive one that relies heavily on the super speedway competition. Richmond International Speedway, Flemington, and Nazareth all are impressive race facilities. And what about New Hampshire International Speedway? You know, it's quite surprising. Originally, the NASCAR officials said the Modified Tour would only become 16 events. It is now 22, just one less than it was 1 year ago. And it seems like NASCAR's oldest short track division has now become NASCAR's newest super speedway division. We wish all the men of the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour the very best in their quest for the title that Jamie the Jet Tomaino owns for 1990. Well, that's going to kind of wrap things up for this edition of Race Week. Until next time.